All right, hey y'all. About to get Dr. Chris added and let's see what's going on. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Hmm. Trying to get everybody on.
Oh no.
Hey, what's going on? I'm trying to get Chris added, but I don't know what's going on.
Okay. What
Let's see.
get on?
No. Chris, where you at, girl?
He wasn't on it.
Yeah, I sent her the invite, but I don't know what's going on. Let me take it back and then send it again.
Okay.
Um,
I thought you could blur your background.
I think you can. I
How do you
think.
how do you do that?
Mhm.
That's weird.
Is it like the effects? Um,
I only see voice.
that's a lot. I'll never mess with
It's alright, it's alright.
that.
I ain't got nothing. All right.
All right, let me see. Let's try again.
Or should I you wanna try again?
Wait, I see she joined. Chris, see if you could request to join. Oh, you did. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, I think
Yeah.
there you go.
Hi.
Hey girl, hey.
Die.
Uh, uh,
All right, girl. We was looking for you in the daytime with a flashlight, girl. I was like, girl, where's Chris?
I'm
Okay, well, there she go. All right, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Hey, y'all. Hey. Welcome to episode 14 of It's Safe Speak Your Truth. I'm Kai, the hood therapist. I'm a licensed cosmetologist and I'm a spiritual advisor. So we're going to do a quick recap on our last episode, which was episode 13. And that episode was titled You Get No Reaction. We talked about how people will provoke you to make it seem like you're the problem just so they can get a negative reaction that helps fit the narrative that they spin to others about you. And we also talked a little bit about how to transmute energy. So, transmutation is basically when you take negative energy and you make it work in your favor. So if you missed it, check it out on our YouTube channel. It's Say Speak Your Truth. And friend, I think we need to have a episode for about transmutation. I think we need to go a little deeper into that. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to my friend and co-host, Dr. Chris. She will introduce our special returning guest, and we're going to get into today's topic. Dr. Chris.
Thank you, my girl. for that introduction. And she said, my name is Dr. Chris, and this is another episode of It's Safe, Speak Your Truth. We have Mr. Patrick Akande, or the Enrichment Facilitator. He's back to share his perspective on what he believes or what he thinks about walking in your divinity and the journey to learning about yourself and healing yourself. Welcome back, Pac.
Thank you. Glad to be back with y'all. So yeah, man, yeah, y'all gave me a topic that I was like, I had to dig deep into my brain. So I got notes.
That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. And we may or may not have time to reach through everything that we have for you, but we're going to try our best to hit as many points as we can. So I'm going to start out by saying, I know you've heard of this quote, and, several different men, some of them may say this: I'm an alpha man. I'm an alpha man. You ain't going to play with me. I'm a leader. Can we talk about what a healthy alpha man is? Because healthy alpha men don't need to announce that they're healthy alpha men. Divine men move a little differently. So, in your opinion, what is an alpha man, and what are some inherent characteristics of one?
Great question. Great way to start it off. So first off, the alpha man concept is an expression of masculinity. It's not the full expression or the full totality of what masculinity is. Right. When I was on here before, I submitted a definition that uh, coincided with what I believe masculinity is by way of the book So Frail by Racine McGee. And that is the spiritual, the mental, and the physical embodiment of analysis and deconstruction. Basically, you should be able to see things within yourself and outside of yourself and break it down from an inward perspective to an outward reality, right? So it's not just limited to one of the three I just mentioned, physicality. It's not just limited to your intellectual, height within academia. It's not just limited to how spiritually astute you are on the spiritual side, on the spiritual realm, right? It's a total expression, full expression of all three of those things. So that's what uh, that alpha masculinity concept should be. Because even when I just said it, when you say you're an alpha male, you got to be very careful, because there's a difference between a male and there's a difference between a man, right? Every man is a male, but not every male is a man, right? And with male, with a species or an animal being a male is just indicating your reproductive system. It's not indicating the full experience that you had spiritually, the full experience that you had mentally, the full experience that you had physically, right? So that's just to kind of set the tone for that from my perspective.
Okay, and so I'm glad that you said that, because I have some notes on, you know, um, on what I think a alpha male is, just like from a female perspective. So I definitely love when we have, men, not males, men on our show, on to share our platform, because I love discussions like this. Okay, so for me, like a alpha, just like we all three of us have said, when you're an alpha male, you don't have to sit up there and broadcast, oh yeah, I'm an alpha male. If you gotta tell me that you're an alpha male, 10 times out of 10, you're not an alpha male. Because you never have to announce who you are. You don't see the president of the United States going around saying, I'm the president of the United States. No, everybody knows that nigga the president of the United States. So it's that's not, you saying that you're an alpha male, that's not alpha male energy. So I feel like, an alpha male, there is somebody that's going to naturally lead. You don't have to force anyone to do anything. You don't have to force someone to submit to you. You just, like you said, you make that observation and you look and you say to yourself, okay, so this not gonna work. So if it's not gonna work, I'm not gonna force something that's not gonna work. We not vibing. I'm gonna leave you alone and I'm gonna go about my business. You go about your business. That's what alpha men do. They don't sit up there and they don't try to make a woman submit. That's not that energy. Um An alpha male, I feel like that is somebody who values their time. They're not going to waste their time and their energy. The alpha male is somebody that learned from their mistakes. They don't feel sorry for themselves. An alpha male is somebody that's a go-getter. It doesn't have anything to do with their financial status. It's the essence of the soul, Mr. Make Shit Happen. And that's what I feel like an alpha male is from a woman's perspective and what I would personally look for in an alpha male.
I like it.
Yes. Like my best cousin said, an alpha male, when he walks in the room, their energy is different. That's absolutely true. Like, you already know what you see the material, you know? When the person like that walks into the room, it's like they demand or command attention and respect without even trying, without even constantly having to announce who they are. People look at them and know who they are. I also think, from another female's perspective, an alpha man is in touch with his femininity and his emotions. He's emotionally intelligent, so he's able to pour just as he's able to receive. He's able to reciprocate the energy. And there's no need to discuss it or fuss about it or, like Kai said, force it. It just naturally happens. It's a naturally occurring situation. So when you are interacting with an alpha male, it's like it makes you want to submit. It makes you want to check yourself. It makes you want to acclimate to his level or what he's teaching you. You're more receptive. You want to listen. You want to allow him to lead. You feel safe in his energy. That's what I get. That's what I'm waiting on. And a true alpha male to lead me and guide me and help me get me together. Because yes, I'm on my journey solo, but I would love to be with someone that can pour into me as I pour into him, and he teaches me things. Not just try to lay me down and get what he could get from me. It's about what you feed my spirit, what you feed my soul. How do I grow? How does my evolution improve in your presence, being connected to you? That's what it's about. So that's all I had for it. Anybody else?
You bring up a really good point, which is, and you had highlighted this as one of the things we're going to talk about. Um, I don't want to get ahead, so I'm going to hold on to it though. So I'm going to come back to this, but I'm going to hold on to it.
All right. So, something else that I notated, when a man is stepping into his divinity, right? It's important to learn how to walk away from people, places, and things that no longer serve you. Like, it's important to know, like, when you have to let go of that friend group, when you have to let go of those going out and partying, when you have to let go of bad habits, because those things will literally like keep you stuck. No matter what it is that you want to do, you have to change your environment. You have to change. If you don't change anything, then nothing's going to stay the same. Um, and I think it comes down to controlling, emotions, and not ignoring those emotions. And just because you ignore emotions, it doesn't make them go away. It doesn't make, the situation hurt less. You're just masking, and it's just going to cause issues like later on down the line with anything that's going to, it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel back. Anything can trigger you or set you off. You just explode because you're just holding so much stuff in. So what is a good way to release, those emotions, to what's a good outlet as a man, like that you found that worked for you?
So I always forget your button, but um, I'm going to start with what you started off with in the area of divinity. When you experience divinity, you're experiencing a balance that's manifested as harmony between the feminine and the masculine, right? And, you know, why am I saying that? Well, the definitions that I gave earlier from the previous episode that we had did together is masculinity is defined as the spiritual, the mental, and the physical embodiment of analysis and deconstruction. We look at shit and we break it down to its very core, and then we actually say, how can we actually pull information out of this and use it as knowledge so we can apply it, so we can experience a different experience than what we already know. While femininity is the spiritual, the mental, and the physical embodiment of synthesis and construction. They put things together. That's why when you hear a woman's intuition, she can piece evidence like a 10-year detective and find out, right? Synthesis and construction. And then she'll build a case against you if she has to, or for you if she said, you know what, you've been doing all these amazing things for me, and I just want to give you this experience that I'm about to give you because of these details. When you harmonize those things together, it's an ebb and flow that we call harmonization, aka divinity. And with your question of how do you remind me again, specifically was your question around the emotional part, right?
What was a good outlet for you? Hold on. Let me go back up. Okay. So I said it was about controlling emotions, not ignoring them.
Right.
And just because, one does ignore their emotions, it doesn't make them go away. So what was like a healthy
Right.
release for you to let go of those pent up emotions?
Right. So I'm glad I just asked that question, because when I talked about the divinity, before you can harmonize with everybody else, you got to be able to harmonize with yourself. So we have a predisposition, right? If I see myself as a man, and we're going beyond gender here, right? That's why I believe everybody does have masculine and feminine essences. It's not just genders, it's an essence within you. But there's a predisposition. Like, I got two hands. I got a left hand and a right hand. But one hand is more dominant than the other. One hand I write with, one hand I cook with, one hand I eat with. So one is going to lead more than the other. So because I subscribe to being a man, to being masculine, I'm going to subscribe to that. So I'm going to come against things that I'm going to have to confront. I'm going to have to journal about. I'm going to have to go to therapy about. I'm going to have to go and ask experienced, healed other men who can actually speak to my situation and give me insight into other things and stuff like that, right? And just go through different practices. It's not a cookie cutter for everybody. It's going to look different for everybody. But in terms of confronting it and concluding from it, what you value from it is going to allow you to, I don't want to say, it doesn't remove things. It just helps you to manage the chaos better, aka peace. Find peace within so you can bring harmony to others when you find your counterpart.
I'm glad you brought that up, right? Knowing, who to connect with, and, being around people that can speak to and amplify the divinity within yourself, right? But what happens when you don't know the first part, the most important part, which is knowing thyself, right? Know thyself. How does a man truly get to know who he is? And with this question, I kind of want you to dive a little bit deeper into the historical and ancestral context of what a male or the male embodiment is. and how that coincides with the healing journey in general.
So overall, every culture, every civilization for men has had a rites of passage, right? Right? We hear from other cultures. I'm not going to call out anyone specific, but when they get to a certain age, in some cultures it's 12, in other cultures it's 14, some 16. They have a distinct name for it that these young boys at the time will go through the rites of passage that they're supposed to go through and ultimately come out on the other side as men, and not just as men, but their community and society sees them as men also. That's why when we watch the news and things like that, we see young boys with, sometimes weapons and stuff like that. And you're like, damn, like what's going on that side of the world? That's because they're seen as men in their society. AKA when you ask what is the rites of passage for the black man, it's all over the place. So we have lost our way in a sense. But in terms of knowing thyself, this is the hard part, because whatever the rites of passage for any man is going to be a very raw acknowledgement of the truth. And because I know what I've gone through. Truth is not fair investigation, but it invites exploration. If you ever been in the woods before and that sun is going down, especially if it gets dark, you probably most likely want to haul ass because you don't know what's in there and you don't want to know what's in there. But if you can't get out, you're gonna be spending the weekend. You just got to figure it out, especially if you got to cook outside. So now you start to look for resources to protect yourself, to sustain yourself, and to a little bit enjoy yourself through the process, because this can't be all doom and gloom. So when you have a willingness to explore, right, the unknown, that's the key part, the unknown part, there is the reward of knowledge. So knowing thyself comes with the reward of knowledge. And there's 4 phases of the mind: belief, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So just because you got the reward doesn't mean the mission is finished. You ultimately have to get to understanding. That's why we look to our elders within the African culture, within the diaspora. We always look to our elders and we always regard them as Mr. or Mrs. because we regard them as someone that is experienced in a certain realm of life, right? In a certain period of life. So with knowledge being such a powerful hallmark, because knowledge has it has left demarcations of civilizations. They always are going to Egypt to study the past civilizations of Egypt, right? Of Kush, right? And what are they always looking for? They're always looking for writings. They're always looking for how they wrapped the bodies of the mummies. They're always trying to study the pyramids and how can these pyramids stand so tall and so long. All of that are demarcations of knowledge. All of that is they were willing to acknowledge the truth, but before they acknowledged it, they explored it. And the rewards of that is knowledge that people to us today we're still tapping into. So that's around the aspect of knowing ourselves.
I want to go back to the rites of passage part. Like in any hood across America, I feel like one of the biggest right, because we have rites of passages, but it's just I don't think it's anything that benefits the community. For our young men, jumping off the porch is a rites of passage. You know, breaking your virginity is a rite of passage at a certain age. Smoking is a right. Oh, you ain't never smoked? Or you ain't never did this? Or you still a little boy? And it's certain things like that. Those are the rites of passages for our community, but it's just like, what can we do to change that? Like, what can we do? Like, because I see a lot of people, it's a lot of people out here on Beyonce internet or whatever, with podcasts and and stuff, and everybody giving your opinion. Some people, it's good things. Some people, it's bad things, a lot of arguing, bickering and stuff like that. But everybody is right. Because just because it didn't happen to you don't mean that that's not that next person's experience, and just because that person haven't experienced what you haven't, that doesn't invalidate your experience. So we are all right, everybody right. If everybody can just look at that, everybody's right, because that is your experience. So what can we do to, as a community, to stop all the back and forth about who right, who wrong, and just put in the work? What is it that we can do? Like, I don't know. Like, I want to do something, y'all. Like, what can we do? Like, 'cause, talk is cheap. At the end of the day, like, it's helping people. But, I'm really like about action. So, like, how can we create that positive rites of passage? Like, what is something that was a part of our culture that we don't do anymore? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of out there right now, but that's
Like,
what's on my mind.
about that action, like you said, you about that action, and I get it. I can speak for myself. I've been a scientist. I've been a coach. I'm still a coach. I I tutor. It's basically, we're gonna touch on this, but my good friend who wrote the book, Racine McGee, said that your purpose is on the other side of your pain. I always heard it, and then I thought about it, and then I felt it, and then I resonated with it. When you don't have what it is that you always needed, that is a calling to you to do what it is that you need to do. So first thing is, identify a problem. If you want to use a scientific method, go ahead, identify a problem. But when you are identifying a problem, don't just identify a problem and say, yo, they're doing a crate challenge. They just walking up the crates and falling off and breaking in there. Why they doing that and stuff? Identify the problem in terms of how it relates to you, not your mama, not your papa, not your partner, not your siblings. How does it relate to you, right? From there, you need to delve into it in terms of, what are the symptoms? In terms of, like, what are the short-term byproducts that we're getting by way of this situation? What are the long-term byproducts by way of this situation? I ain't calling her out, but there's a song out right now. The line is crazy. And I'm not going to say the entire line. I'm going to kind of bleep it out. I think you know where I'm going. My brand, my brown, right? I'm not cracking on her at all, but I've seen this before, right? A young lady that was part of this organization or this group called Bad Boy, right? I've seen this before, right? And same thing with on the male side, right? Certain artists promote a certain music to get a certain reaction, right? So ultimately, identify the problem. What are the short-term and long-term effects? If you see the effects are not beneficial to the community, now you need to look at it like a cancer. Cancer has different stages of it, and depending on what stage you identify the problem at, then now you know how deep the solution has to be, how quick the solution has to be, so that this issue can be in remission. And I'm not saying go out there and be Superman or Supergirl. I'm saying start with yourself, start with your family, and then hopefully will ripple throughout your community and your society.
That's a good point. Thank you for sharing that perspective, Pat. I kind of want to dive a little deeper about that. When you're talking about identifying the problem and doing the work from your experience or the position you're in your journey to change it in some ways, help shape the community, or mentor someone or pour into someone in the way in which you wish you were poured into at that time. That takes some healing, right? You have to know what it is that you needed at that juncture of your journey in order to pour it or provide it for someone else. So I kind of want to ask you, from your perspective, your experiences, how did you identify your triggers, things that you had fears, uncertainties, doubts about healing from? And then how did you take that and transform it or transmute that energy, that negative energy, into a positive energy, or provide an environment that's conducive for pouring into other younger Black males, Black young women. So for example, we always talk about forgiving our parents, realizing that they are indeed human. And we talked about this a lot in previous episodes, how we have to, before we can forgive ourselves, we have to forgive our parents and the toxic mindsets and behaviors and ideologies that we have accepted from them. So she's not your mama. If you're in a relationship or you're dating and you have this mommy wound and you want to make your mother pay, and you wreak havoc on other women's lives because you're mad at your mommy, it's like, you have to know that you have the mommy wound and want to dive deeper into that. Or for the woman, you have the daddy wound, so you intentionally try to hurt, break, use men and all of that. So, but you have to know that's a trigger, that's a wound that you need to address. And then you might see a young woman or a young man suffering from the same wound. So can you talk about that? Like how it's all about your personal healing, breaking away from your own familial chains in order to be about that action?
So that's a great question. So starting off with the triggers, right? What I'm about to share is not just done on a physical level. Again, back to the definition, it's done at three stages: the spiritual, the mental, and then the physical. So you can start with the physical if that helps you ultimately get to the spiritual, or you can start with the spiritual that ultimately gets you to the physical. But first of all, you want to realize, for me, how I did it, I had to realize my bodily reactions. Ooh, I could become a hothead. I feel my body getting hot, tighten up my fist. I'm talking about I was a terror when I was in junior high school, really was, right? Um, and then look at how fast your thoughts are. Because when we are ready to build up a case on why we don't mess with someone, or why I ain't talking to her no more, I ain't talking to him no more, the amount of rapid evidence that comes by way of thoughts is so quick, it's crazy. And then that same person would tell you, I can't do math. What? You just categorized and shift everything so quickly. That was impressive. No, you choose to submit yourself towards this trigger, right? Then you have who and what triggered the emotion, right? Sometimes you're not the problem. Sometimes the person's not the problem. The problem is the problem. You just want a physical embodiment of the problem. And that's not fair to people sometimes. It's not fair to yourself too, actually. Right. And then before there's a feeling, there was a prior trigger to the main trigger. And you have to be able to identify the precursor to the trigger. If you know you go off or it messes up your day when there's dirty dishes in the sink, ask yourself, did we set up a schedule where we understand how we're going to deal with these dishes? Because if you didn't set anything up, then there was bound to be dishes in the sink. That's just what it is, right? And then this was the hardest one for me because this is ultimately how I became a tutor. So I'll tell you this little story before I actually tell you the last part. The way I became a tutor is because my dad was actually my first tutor. And it was horrible. Because with an advanced degree, he was able to understand math the way he could understand. Mind you, I wasn't a math major. I've always been a science major. But because that was an unmet need of mine, I said, there's most likely a person just like me that's going through the same situation that just needs somebody with a little bit of patience, with a little bit of style, with a little bit of, little paprika in there. And that's how I eventually developed being the enrichment facilitator. Because I'm like, I'm not just a tutor. I enrich and I facilitate the process of you learning. So the last part of how to notice a trigger is to ask yourself, what needs of mine are not being met? And that's a hard pill to swallow, because most times we try to get our needs met from other people outside of ourselves in very different ways and in very different fashions. So that's how I noticed my triggers. And then you said, how did I heal, or how did I transition into healing?
You can do it from either path, because I feel like they're both relevant in your ability to show up fully as yourself and to pour into the next generation like you're doing. So we can do both. How did you use that information, or identify your triggers, and then use that to facilitate your healing? And then how has it enhanced your healing journey if you had not, if you hadn't stepped into this journey, like,
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to talk about, what we're talking about on here. So, just share like a little bit more about how you identify your triggers and then transformed into who you are as a man today.
that's the beauty of what Kai said earlier, right? So when we were talking about finding solutions within the community, the first thing I said was to identify the problem. And in terms of identifying the problem, you got to identify the problem with yourself first. So ultimately, when I got to the needs that were not being met by my dad, aka my first tutor, what would end up happening? I would go through a series of other tutors, and eventually tutoring myself, that I picked up from other people, right? Like, I like how he does this, and I like how she does that. Let me just go to the library and kind of do it this way myself. Da 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 da. And this is not, you plant the seed today and the tree grows tomorrow. This takes time. So the transition happened when I started to identify the unmet needs over into like that symptom of cancer screening that I gave you earlier, right? The first part is, what are the symptoms, right? Or you need to take a test to identify the symptoms if you can't recognize them. So that means going to somebody that's more experienced than you, a counselor or a therapist, and they will help you, or you will help yourself, because some people know themselves well enough. Know thyself is not a pretty thing all the time, to know your triggers, right? The symptoms is right there. From the triggers that you've identified, or someone helps you identify, you get expert advice. Some people, the only Bible that they will ever read in their life is the Bible of their life. So they know themselves well enough to be like, look, I'm playing with myself. And some people got to be called out by a friend, a therapist, a family member that's well respected and knowledgeable, a counselor, things like that. After that, you have to identify the stages. Like I said again, there's stage one cancer, stage two, stage three, and I respect, if anybody's out there is going through some cancer right now. But how deep it is? How deep is it? Right? Like, what is it rooted to? Or what habits have you picked up along the way, or patterns that you've involved yourself in, that has allowed you to get to such a deep stage? So you know how deep the problem is. And then you start to look towards solutions. You can discuss with other people, or you can start to pick up from books that you read, right? Or workshops that you go to, or seminars that you attend, right? And those solutions is the actual work that we always talk about, the work. And then after that, it's remission. With remission, It's not just, all right, it's gone, we good, I'm about to go back to eating Five Guys burgers and stuff like that. No, once the remission hits, now you have to maintain the healing. The ultimate goal of this entire process is to go from healing to healed. People talk about healing, but I rarely hear the term healed. When you are healed, that means you have the tools and the resources to maintain the healing through boundaries, through journaling, through meditation, through retreats, and a whole host of other things.
So, all right. So we just talked about triggers. So what I kind of want to move into is survival mode. So, um a lot of us, still operate out of survival mode when we don't have to. And so did you find yourself operating in survival mode at one point in your life? And then if you did operate in survival mode, when did you realize that that's what you were doing? And, you know, how does a man, come to terms with that?
So I did. When you have the concept of mind that, I just want to live to at least be 25, because I know 25 is going to be the cutoff mark for me, or 18 is going to be the cutoff mark for me, right? That's an indication of you just going with the flow of surviving. So to move from surviving to thriving, you, you have to be willing to no longer take a glimpse, but staring this thing that I'm about to describe, you have to stare it dead in the eyes and deep in the soul. And that is recognizing the gift of life in yourself and in other people. And what are you trying to recognize? Once again, to the definition, you're recognizing their spiritual advancement, their spiritual experience, their mental advancement, their mental experience, and their physical experience as well, right? Um, and the reason why I say you have to look the gift of life dead in the face is because that's going to force you to apply the first law of nature, which is self-preservation. Because now you're going to put a set of principles and values in front of yourself that you're going to either accept and abide by, or you're going to discard and remove yourself away from, right? So, you know, and you can fall into either category. If you decide to just kind of not be attentive to it, you'll fall into what you think is life, but when you look back at it, it was only, I don't want to say death, but the precursor of living, but not, you have life, but you're not living. I should say it that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's definitely something to think about. There are a lot of men that might be struggling with, implementing the principles and making the necessary changes to thrive instead of always surviving, right? So I think that also goes into understanding or even knowing your divine assignment, your divine purpose. Why are you here on earth? What are you supposed to, or what are you predestined to accomplish or change in the trajectory of your life? So can you kind of discuss, do you know your purpose? And if so, how were you able to identify it from a healed space?
So straight off out the bat, my purpose is to serve. My purpose is to serve. The greatest part of a tree is the fruit that it bears, and no tree has kept its fruit. If anything. People come by. Some people steal the fruit. Some people honor it by, receiving, but also giving back by watering the fruit, making sure the environment around the tree, watering the plant, making sure the environment around the plant is well taken care of and stuff like that. But ultimately, the tree knows its purpose is to give the gift away. That's not why I don't develop the gift just to keep it. And in terms of actually like finding it, like I said earlier, it's on the other side of your pain. And when I say pain, I'm not just talking about physical pain. Pain can come in very, very different forms and fashion. One of the most common forms of pain is fear, right? If you look at a child and when you tell them to go to bed, but the light in the room is off, but I'm scared. And when you really think about it, it's not that they're scared of the dark. They don't know what's in the dark. So they fear what they don't know is in there. So when you don't know something and you're not willing to explore, not saying that children have to explore the concept of darkness, but when you don't know, you can easily slip into misinformation. And misinformation leads to destruction, avoidance, or even submission. But what's the opposite of fear? The opposite of fear is information. And information requires knowledge and understanding. Knowledge is the acquirement of knowing, like you said earlier, know thyself. Because when you get information, you got to see how it applies to you. And then the understanding is when you ultimately get the information that applies to you, you have to actually execute on it and apply it. That's wisdom. That's the bridge between knowing and understanding. And then you get to understanding. Understanding is the highest conceptualization of the mind, according to my friend, Ray C. McGee. And I understand it because to experience something and to know something is two different levels. It's like night and day. When you know something, you can actually whisper to the person that just do this, that, and then this. And they be like, yo, we really work. And you see the person that gave them that information, that shared their experience with them, they be like, I know. It's not because I'm arrogant. I've paid the tuition to experience that thing that you are struggling with that I can speak to. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. And the part that you just said, you're not being arrogant. I find, a lot of people, like when you are on your healing journey and when you do share like your experiences and like the things that you have worked on or are working on, some people like will look at that and take it as you feel like, you know everything, or, you think you better than them. But it's just like, no, I'm just sharing, my experience. Like I'm just sharing the things that I've done to help me, or I just came across this new knowledge myself and I wanted to share it with your ass, and you feel like I'm, I think I'm better, but I don't. Like, it's a journey. You're always learning. And but of course we wanna bring this back to and focus on, the men. Like I I want y'all to know, like, just to keep going. Like, even if it doesn't work out how you want it to work out, like, it's still always working in your favor. Like, it's not happening how you planned it, but it's working in your favor. And then that's when you have to learn how to release control, because you can't control everything. And I think that's where, it's just my opinion, but I think that's where, like, some men kind of get frustrated on this journey because they feel like they have to be in control. They were taught that they have to be in control. You have to, know what to do. You have to, you know, make you try to make everything and everyone submit to you. But then when something comes to that, when you face something that's out of your control, you don't know how to handle it because you were always taught that you should know how to handle it, that you should always be in control. And sometimes you can't control it. So is that something that you had to experience, like just learning how to let go and not control everything that happened in on your journey?
I'm gonna say this and hear me well, and it's gonna resonate to the gender that you subscribe to, or the the essence that you subscribe to. Right? All feelings are not facts, and all intellect is not knowledge. I was on the side of intellect. Um, with intellect, man, you can go to schools of thoughts, you be learning stuff and da 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 da, but you can become so smart that you outsmart yourself, and nobody won't want to deal with you. They're gonna be like, he know it all already. And when you know everything, that's the stage that you will stay at. The first conceptualization of the mind is belief. Knowledge can go back down to the realm of belief because you know it, right? So you create this world that you know. If y'all seen Endgame, right? With Thanos, this dude, this dude went through everything, got all the rings, got the world, the reality that he wanted. And when they did the follow up to the movie, he was sitting there just by himself. He didn't put up no fight. It's a dangerous game that we're playing when you try to go into a realm that and I'm talking about for myself for for like you said, control. That was the word, control. When we are building a house, the plumber can't do what the painter does. The electrician can't do what the plumber does. If not, they can cause a fire in the house, they can cause a flood in the house, or the house could just be looking crazy. It could be green, pink, red, all kind of colors. And you're like, I'm not buying this. I'm gonna flip it for the sisters. You wouldn't let your hairstylist do what your makeup artist normally does, right? Unless they gotta have the skill set. Let me hear this. I gotta hear this.
I was saying unless they could do both, like you got a multi-talented individual like my girl here, could do hair and makeup or things like that. But I'm going to be more trusting of someone that I know has the credentials.
And you see what I said about truth?
Yeah.
Truth. Acknowledgement of the truth. Basically, it invites exploration. So if somebody new comes to you and says, I'm a hairstylist, I'm a nail tech, and I can also do eyebrows as well. Okay, where's the proof? AKA the truth, right? So with that being said, it's like you don't give anybody your total control of yourself. And that's why you should never try and take total control, because people know what it is that you're good at. They know. Some people that really know you well, right? So when you try to leave from an area of this kind of like knowledge thing, intellect thing, it can be really damaging to you as a leader, right? Like you spoke about leadership earlier. One of the most powerful animals in the jungle is a lion, right? Now, when it comes to the lion, it's not the biggest, it's not the fastest, it's not the strongest. It's just an attitude. But even that lion knows there's certain things that I cannot do that the lioness can do. So I'm gonna let her rock over there, right? So releasing that control in terms of intellect, or in terms of physicality, or in terms of spirituality, it allows you to once again harmonize with your counterpart in a way that is divine.
I think it's you, friend.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Listen, when you said that Leo, the lion poet, I did this because it reminds me of the Leo, which is my sign. So we're known to, people look at us as arrogant and, always thinking you royalty and that you run things and you control things, and to a certain extent, because you know your worth and you know what you have overcome and what you've learned through your experiences and knowing yourself, and you're walking in your confidence, and that can intimidate some people, that can make some people feel some type of way, and as at a certain point you have to be comfortable in knowing that knowing your confidence makes other people feel some type of way, and you still walk in your confidence with other people feeling some type of way. It takes time. And that's something that I've definitely had to learn, like not dumbing myself down or dimming my light to make other people feel more comfortable with me. That takes time. So can you wrap us up and bring us in, and how can we truly walk in our divinity with confidence and make it so that other people will, instead of feeling insecure or as if they're being targeted or called out, how can we use that energy of other people that are confident to help us recognize and walk in our own divinity?
It ultimately, great question, because I love the fact that I can end off with this, but it ultimately has to come through the channel of love. And I think we spoke about love the last time. If we didn't, the in my opinion, the way I subscribe to love is connected to the power of betterment. My grandmother has a song. I don't know if she wrote it, but I just love it. And I ain't gonna sing it, but I'll say the words. Good, better, best. I will never rest until my good is better and my better best. Better is the bridge between good and the best. But ultimately, the journey from good across the bridge to betterment, ultimately to the best, has to be done in the journey of love. Like I said, love is connected to the power of betterment. Therefore, with love comes what? Correction, because you want to get better. So if you truly love someone, you're going to be in the position of correcting them, but not in the sense of control. It's in the aspect of, because I love you and because I want to see a better version of you, this is why I'm correcting you in the way that I am correcting you, right? And I'm not saying spank people, yell people. Correction can be sometimes like, look, you just need me to listen and not talk. I'm here for you. Because sometimes some of the most powerful people, some of the most powerful things people will hear is the things that they say themselves, aka coaching. Coaching is taking the present aspect and ultimately getting to a goal that the client has set for themselves. While therapy and counseling is the full spectrum of the past, the present, and the future. So love is my answer to that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. That was some good stuff. I can't believe our hour is up. Oh my God, the time went by so fast. Oh my God. So what I'm gonna do our daily affirmation, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Chris with her words of encouragement, and then she's gonna close us out. So our daily affirmation comes from sunsigns.org. And it says, and this really, really, really like correlates with everything that we've been saying today. It was just so amazing when I found it. So it says the biggest challenge in life is fear. You are in charge of making sure that you get all the best things in life. I'll say it one more time. The biggest challenge in life is fear. You you are in charge of making sure that you get all the best things in life. So you can't point the finger. I mean, you can, but it all comes back to you. How did you respond? How did you react? What did you do? What did you say? It all comes back to you. So you have to create the lifestyle that you want to create. Every action does not deserve a reaction. And we just talked about that on our last episode. So again, if you missed it, go ahead and check it out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Chris. Is she going to close us out?
Listen, thank you to Pat for coming back on and to share his perspective, the knowledge, the wisdom that he himself has acquired on his own journey. I'm going to definitely make sure that we include his, website and, his page, with his business, the Enrichment Facilitator. If you are interested in utilizing his services or reaching out to him or learning more from him, we're going to have that information in the caption below. I just wanted to end with saying, there are a lot of males who are growing into men, and there are a lot of men who are also males that are trying to use their knowledge, their experiences to, pour into someone else. And we just definitely want to let you know that we see you, we hear you, we understand. And if there's anything that we can do to help your journey move along more efficiently or more smoothly, please feel free to reach out to us. You can email us at safetospeak222@gmail.com. You can also follow Kai and myself's personal Instagram. Kai is Kai the hood there _ the hood therapist, and I am _ Dr. Chris. If you would like to follow us, reach out to us. We are definitely receptive and open to speaking with you and learning from you. I also want to make sure that we know what we are going to be discussing next time. So we will be going live on October 20th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time with another individual, another mental health professional, Ms. Ty Lofton. She's going to be coming back to provide us with another education hour. And our topic will be on narcissism, narcissistic behaviors, and love and family, and how to heal from that all, if it was abusive or a toxic connection, as well as educating us on what that is and how to navigate that journey. If it's something you're currently suffering with or are connecting with someone that you think is narcissistic, and how to overcome and be able to thrive again, shifting from a survival mindset to one of thriving and one of love, peace, and tranquility and positivity. So with that, we look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you for joining us on today. Kai, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, nothing else. Just thank y'all for so much love and support. Thank y'all so much. And we will see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.